Hello and welcome to Analog Comics. Finally, here in Finland we have a weather that is kind of summer, so I'm not going to be focusing a lot to the videos. I'd rather be taking most out of the short summer. So after this video, it's going to be after my holidays that there'll be anything out for this channel. They say that the winter in Finland is very long and it includes the summer, meaning that if you blink too many times, the summertime is gone. Okay, but now to the subject of this video. This time I'm going to talk about Gardens of Glass by Lando. Gardens of Glass is a collection of stories. There are 6 short stories here that were first published in Decadence Comics, which is some kind of collective co-founded by Lando and, let me cheat a bit, and Stathis Gemberlidis. I have never seen Decadence Comics, this original source, and I don't know if there are more artists than just these 2 people there. But this Garden of Glass is kind of best of collection of Lando's works within 5 years time frames. This book is published by Breakdown Press. Again, another publisher that I was not aware of before Gardens of Glass. But I did check out their website and I will put a link down to the description. It seems to be also a bit more indie or underground comics that they publish. It's a UK, London-based publication company. So if you're interested, go check out the rest what they have. Gardens of Glass is one of those peculiar one-off books that keeps me coming back. This is one of my most reread comics. I read this often. Sometimes I just need to get my head off other things. I want to get into the comic world but still get something out of it. And the stories here are such that they tickle your brain from the places that very few stories reach. It's a very interesting concept, and it mixes kind of 70s, very Moebius style sci-fi look and also manga. The problem of showing this is because some of the stories are really short. The shortest is 6 pages, and that includes the title page. So I'm going to be very careful at showing you what's inside. You'll get the idea, but I will not want to spoil anything of the stories themselves. Because I think part of the fun in this book is finding out your own solution to the stories. The stories are kind of open-ended. Some of them are more clear, but some of them are open, very open to interpretations. And you have to put yourself in it, your own thoughts in it. And you have to decide what you think about things there. And you have to decide what it is about. The storytelling reminds me a lot of Moebius' arc work. There is very little dialogue. Only the last comic here has some dialogue. Everything else has a 0 dialogue. No speech bubble, no thoughts or explanation or anything. You have to make it out from the work. All the stories have this stranger in a strange land setting. Something has happened that has devastated the whole world. It's a landscape, very barren landscape. And if there is any signs of the old world, it's destroyed and in ruins. And one more important thing before I show you what's inside. It's clear that Lando has a message to tell you. What I don't like about some of the environmental or political or philosophical stories is that if they preach to you, if they are telling you what to think. And Lando clearly has a message, but the way he does it is not preaching. Otherwise I wouldn't be rereading this so many times. He leaves the things open. He just shows you the thing. He doesn't explain it, and they are weird enough so that you have to decide how to think about them. But it's clear in many of his stories that there is this contempt and even disappointment in humanity. That's very clear. But it's not preaching. It's just laying the stuff out for the reader and kind of letting it go through your brain and your filters, and you get to decide what to think of it and how you see it. It's very smartly done, and especially it's really hard to do that without any dialogue. Well, there is that little bit of dialogue at the last story, but most of it's completely void of dialogue. And I think that's one of the reasons why I keep coming back to this, because it lets me finish the things that are not said, the things that are outside the frame. And while doing that, it also takes my mind off of anything that I've been maybe worried about or stressed about before that. You get sucked into this. And now we take a look inside. Let's do some size comparison first. Here's the Gardens of Glass, and this is regular trade paperback size. So it's just a little bit wider. The height, there's just a small difference. Picture here is more like glossy, and the area around is more matte finish. I like the glowing orange printing here, and the same color scheme is here on the side. And at the back there's a small picture of the scenery and some of the characters that we see throughout these stories. This was published in 2014, and this is the first printing. And I think I got this in 2014 also. There was a price tag here which I removed, which means that I have purchased this from a physical store. Let's take a look inside. First we got this. Again, this glowing orange theme continues here. The rest of it is black and white. It's the name, opening, and we already get into the dystopian destroyed world theme. It starts here and sets the mood. Here we have the contents page with the 6 stories included in this, but these names are in the wrong order. Not sure what happened there. This one says that the last drink would be the first story when it's actually the Olympic Games. And this is about games, sort of. Games where it's a matter of life and death. Losers die and the winners, they get to leave. This might be the reason why I actually purchased this, if I looked inside, because the first panel is screaming Moebius, at least for me. All the way it's drawn, faces and the looks, and the way the body movements and the weight in them. Like Moebius has always been very good at physical bodies, like how they distribute weight and the movement. And this is where the games begin. This is one of the longer stories in the book, and it includes quite a lot of fighting. And the thing here about this fighting is that it's very well, there's a choreography to it. You understand really well how it works, where people are, how they move, the strategy and all things. But then there is these little things of these people, well on the losing side, like these little movements that are very humane, that makes you feel a little bit for the opponent also, you know, as they suffer and die. So it makes the story, it's not about survival of the winner, it's more about also the losers, how they suffer for the competition here. Very small things, cues in the graphics and the panels. Like if you'd remove this panel here, this would be just, well, execution here, but it's all this little hand movement. It's like almost like please, and that sets the tone. It gives you these little nuggets that I think, at least for me, it somehow binds me more to the story, to the reading of it. It makes the people, even these people that you don't know nothing about, it makes them more important. Here is more competitors landing on this barren desert. These weird skulls on the ground. And that's basically the place where they're trying to get. I'm only going to show you a few pages here and there. And as you can see, the battle continues. It's merciless. Now I'm going to skip some pages. Some of this might and will look weird when out of context. And I won't show you more about the story. So it's kind of a longish story within this book. This story is also the easiest to follow. You can read it just as a story, the way I did it the first time. And then the stories get gradually more difficult. They become more analogous, or there's hidden meanings that you have to find. Only I got to the end of the book, I realized that Lando has a much bigger issue to talk about. Looking at this story through that filter, which I learned going through the whole book, this became much, much darker. And now I see it in a very different light than just an adventure. The next story, Last Drink, is a very short one, and the style is different. To my eye, this is more on the manga territory. There are more that kind of graphic cues. It starts with this person trying to find a few drops of water. He doesn't have to say anything, but you kind of know the hardship he's going through and how he's playing with that. And here is the page that, for me at least, the way these are depicted is very manga-like. There he breaks his bottle. But the story continues, but it's short, only a few pages after that, so I won't show you any further. This is more like a slice of life thing in the worst possible scenario. It makes you think. There's kind of nothing happening really, but still it evokes, it somehow draws at least some thoughts of you. When you read this, if you're not getting some ideas or questions or feelings, you don't have a pulse. It's very well done. I highly recommend this. Third story is some kind of acronym, Harp, and it's about these soldiers in this very barren land. It's like a concrete field. That's also a very kind of, at least for me, kind of Moebius thing. I always think about his Teflon concrete planet from Inkle, seeing these plates of concrete or some other hard material. And again, it's a silent story, and you kind of have to make the rest yourself. But everything is understandable. You understand kind of what's happening. You just don't know their motives and why, and what's on the other side. That's for you to decide. And again, this ends very soon after this, so I will not show you the ending of it. The next we got Pyramid Scheme. This was toughest. I mean, this is so full of hidden meanings. It took me at least 15 reads to understand, get inside this story. And I've been rereading and rereading this just because of that, because I think I get the others. At least I have some kind of interpretation, but here first I didn't have a clue what was going on. Although this is graphically very well done. Then I realized that I was looking for the answers at the wrong place, and I will not tell you where to look from it. I'd like to hear if you have read this and if you got it, or if you still hasn't got it. But I think at least I have now a very good explanation for this story. And once I saw it, it's obvious. At least that's my opinion about it. But at first glance, it looks very weird and nonsensical, as you can see. It's this person with this triangle head, and the woman had this balloon head, this giant bear child, these moving shapes. It's like this, and then I can show you some of this because you still have to do the brain work. This was such demanding story for me, and finally when I got it, it felt really good. And now I read it kind of fluently, so to speak. It's all about connecting the dots really, which took a long time for me, really long time. These ones are really short. It's 6 pages, including this title page. So I will only show you the first one, the opening here. This is very manga-like drawing. It starts with this person trying to grow crops within old shopping mall. For me, this was the story where I could see Lando's hate and contempt for humanity the most. It's almost bitter, the ending of it, but still done only with few pages, and to be able to bring over that kind of feeling with just few panels. For me, that's talent. The last story is called The Marble Man. This is also a long one, just like the first one. And this is the one with some dialogue in it. Only few speech bubbles here and there. But also very weird setting. But there are very clever graphical cues of what's happening. But this one also leaves a lot to interpretation, at least the ending. I think it's the one that goes most to the Moebius territory. Moebius had his way of doing this stream of conscious thing. So it's very much up to the reader how you see the ending and how you interpret it. But this was also highly enjoyable. And the open endings and other stuff that isn't explained here, that's the thing that kind of tickles your brain. This is a very smart book in my opinion. And that was The Gardens of Glass by Lando. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll be back after my vacation. Bye.